did it. You got up to 4,000, which is great. So as promised, whiskey drinking and book reading. So to start off with, I'm not sure you've earned a really nice glass yet. So we'll work with, what do we have here? Just a nice sort of a classic R glass. Don't worry, I have fun festive glasses for when you get a little higher in the Kickstarter. So a nice R, and we are gonna start with, I think, we're gonna work our way up. So for the 4,000, we will be drinking just a 10-year-old, a 10-year-old Glenmorangie Highland Single Malt Scotch Whiskey. This is distilled and matured in Ross-shire, produced in Scotland. I have to tell you that in terms of the Glens, the Brothers Glen, this is not my favorite, but I'd like to save some of the higher end whiskeys for a little bit later in the Kickstarter. Still, bit of a drink. Now I will warn you, I'm an incredible lightweight when it comes to alcohol. So this is gonna put me half on the floor. All right, so this is again, the Glenmorangie. So, oh, I got a little on me. It's not too bad. Yeah, see this one, it's got that, I mean, it's okay. It's fruity. I like the fruity whiskeys. I'm not a peaty person. It's got a little more bite in the back of the throat than I'd like, but oh God. All right, so we got a stack of options. It feels only right to start with First Dawn. If you guys could hit the actual Kickstarter goal, I will read the sex scene in Third Dawn while completely drunk. And there'll be a lot of giggling. All right, so what would be a good scene in here? Let's see. Probably not one of the Mark and Council ones. Let's see. Chapter 13, destroy the blasphemers. It's good to destroy blasphemers. Options. What am I thinking here? Here we go. How about M killing people? Which, becomes a recurring situation through here. So if you would like to follow along, you will need some whiskey. I can feel it burning. It's burning all the way down. So here's the thing about mid-tier whiskey. It's not a shooting whiskey and it's not a sipping whiskey. You just got to kind of get through it. Okay, so we are in First Dawn, page 136 in the paperback. This is where M has repaired her vocal cords and is now talking. So we're going to do, about 2.5, 3 pages. M, she sounded, her new voice wavering. I'm M. M grinned and clapped her hands in delight. She was talking. She didn't have to be a duck anymore. I don't know where all these duck jokes come from. Honestly, I have very little memory of writing this. It was so long ago, but there was a clear duck fascination. She could tell people what she wanted, join conversations. Even the Rosalians would be easier to deal with now. After all, only sentient beings could talk. Em was startled out of her thoughts as a rectangular panel dissolved at a corner of the little room. She felt a distinctive pressure change and jumped back in surprise as the metal floor shifted under her feet. Captain Ran, my God, I'm so bad with naming aliens. At one point I was just like, they're all gonna rhyme. Tentatively stepped into the room, the familiar gun held at attention. As he lingered in the doorway, watching Em, shoulders tense. A Rosalian in gray poked her head around Ran, taking in the room. The edges of a conversation came with her. Over here, I know you think most of Celtel's business is moving to the external market, but forcing the entire Rosalian fleet to speak common when off-world seems extreme. I think you should know at this stage that I can feel the fuzziness going up into my head. Enough first, Ran inclined her head towards Em. I brought you here to do a physical, nothing more. I've already reset the pressure plating so it won't electrocute you when the weight distribution changes. Get in there. I probably should have been capitalized. The first stepped gingerly around Ran and into the room. As he knelt before Em, took a step back. I'm glad the board suggested installing the floor before the cutter left dry dock. It doesn't have its cellulose reinforcements installed yet, but in this case, that seems fortuitous. Ran nodded and remained silent, running her big toes slowly over a small section of the floor. The first let her eyes linger on Em's stained yellow dress before extending a finger past the mesh to trace the hemline. Clothes, on a juvenile. Yellow clothes, as if she had tested and passed the captain's exam. He tugged at the material near M's shoulder, knuckles grazing M's bare skin. Wow, it's getting harder to read. So there's a dead bug in here. I don't care, it's sterile now. Gross, Em thought to herself. I agree, Em, there's a bug in my drink. Captain, I think you should come over here. Her eyes are following my movements. She's fidgeting like she's upset. I'm touching her. The Rosalian turned to face the captain. How much did you change in this model? The behavior is atypical. Rand did not move, but her eyes flicked to Em uncertainly. I didn't ask for your opinion first, just a physical assessment. Has the healer Ardulum spoken to her? Has she healed herself sufficiently? Is she well enough to be placed back in stasis? The bump is gone, and I don't see any traces of blood. As he stood, we could try to put her back in stasis, but that technology has never been tested on Ardulum post-manifest. If she can break a Dulan field, as you mentioned, chances are she could break the cylinder as well. Rand's lips pursed as he knelt to one knee, looking quizzically at Em. She's eaten the I can't read anymore, guys. This is getting harder. She's eaten the last of the Andal, and it wasn't enough to do anything more than the healing. I'll deal with her from here. You're dismissed. Rand holstered the gun and nodded to the doorway. The first eyes went wide, but she left swiftly, the door swishing shut behind her. Em stared up at Rand, a rage-filled curiosity melting her insides. She would not remove her dress. Neek had said she could wear it. It was hers. Besides, she could talk now. Removing her dress was just stupid. Maybe she should take off the captain's tunic and see how Z liked being naked in a cold metal room. Which is interesting because I think it's actually plastic. It's fine. You're watching me, aren't you? Rand looked Em in the eyes, the Rosalian seeming uncertain. When she spoke, the tone was different, too. Softer. The words more of a question than a command. You can't wear yellow, you see. Or clothes. Juveniles don't wear anything on Resolve, and only captains can wear yellow. Just hand the garment to me, and I'll go. No fuss. I'm gonna be real honest with you. The no shoes in space and the no clothes in space is just because I get really tired of describing what people are wearing all the time. It's a lot in Aliens. I just don't like doing it. Why? It won't look good on you. She couldn't have asked for a better response. The Rosalian's neck seared violently as he fell backwards, head slamming against the wall. There's a lot of concussions in my books. Well, it wouldn't, Em added, so I might as well keep it. If you want it, you'll have to shoot me like you did my mother. Those words hurt to say, the vocalization somehow making the past event more real than just reliving it in her mind. Captain Rand could not be trusted. Captain Rand was dangerous. Captain Rand was for some reason she couldn't discern, perpetually in her way. Several words whispered from Rand's mouth. The hissing clicks unfamiliar, but a tone very similar to Neek's when she was surprised. Where's Neek? Em asked, leaving the clothing issue behind. I want to find her. You're not supposed to be able to talk, the captain managed finally as he pushed herself upright. I didn't code you for that. We prepared for multiple talents, but you're sentience. Rand struggled to collect herself, eyes wide and breath heavy. It's probably because you're drinking mid-tier scotch, friend. I'm gonna drink this bug now. I don't care enough. I did. I drank it. Rand struggled to collect herself, eyes wide and breath heavy. Ardulans don't talk. They don't ask questions. You're not a child. You're a weapon. A living piece of machinery. So he grabbed at her tunic, hands rifling through fabric folds before finally reaching the hip holster for her gun. Rand launched to her feet and grabbed Em by the throat, lifting her off the ground. Her eyes turned dark, and Em could hear labored breathing and a faint whistling as air drove through Rosalian's neck slits. Em gasped for air while she tried to pry blue fingers from her throat. Her legs swung and kicked, but Rand held her at a distance. This is rudimentary intelligence, Rand sputtered, like in a beast of burden. No different than the basic instinctual responses of your mother. Talking is a simple mistake, an error, perhaps a mutation, that's all. Black spots began to swim in front of Em's vision as the Rosalian shook her from side to side. Clearly, alcohol's having an effect. We can fix mistakes. I can fix you. Just have to tweak your code a little. Once we get to the cell tau lab, it will be fine. You'll see. Rand ended the last words in a higher pitch, the sound hurting Em's ears. The fingers released her and Em fell to the floor. Rand put the gun back in the holster. Em sucked in a mouthful of air, coughing loudly. A hand hit her across the face before she completely recovered, sending the girl backwards and bouncing her head off the wall. It will take more whiskey before I enact that. Remove the cloth. Failure to do so will result in additional beatings. I'm pretty certain this line is from the... Excuse me, I'm going to burp now. Beatings will continue until morale improves. Classic statement. Further disobedience could lead to more drastic measures. Em managed a sitting position. It was still hard to breathe, hard to see. Everything hurt. Then Rand was down at her level, tracing 2 fingers against M's swollen cheek. Soft words came again, the jagged gentleness drawing tears from M's eyes. Blue filled her blurred vision as the confusing tone lulled her, made her long to be back in her mother's arms. If you do have some flicker of life, think about this. Helping the Rosalians mean you'd help save every one of the systems. Isn't that something you'd like? Helping your friends, your Neek? You just have to listen to what you're told. Take off the clothing. No! Em screamed, although the sound came out more like a honk than she intended. Excuse me. I used to be able to do this in high school. We're going to see if I can manage the honk I'm thinking of here. I don't know if I can get that up. I used to be able to honk like deep in my throat. We'll see. I'm just drunk enough to try it. There you go. A little bit. More alcohol will be needed next time. She was tired of being told what to do, tired of having no control over her life, tired of the Rosalians, tired of Rand. Neek had fought back. Neek showed her how to fight back, and she didn't need cellulose to do it. Drawing on her memory of Neek's actions in the dreamscape, Em got to her knees. Rand's hand rose and swung, aiming for the same side of her face. In that moment, just before impact, we had more whiskey. I'm just a little unstable right now. I mean, in general, but also from this. Also, I think I need to re-solidify my bar down. Hold on, we're almost done. Or drink a bit. Oh, it hits you sometimes. The mid-tier whiskey, it hits you. All right, we're gonna hit this. There's no place in anyone's life for mid-tier whiskey. You can either go like Jack Daniels because you know what you're getting, or something really nice. It tastes like a fruit bat has died in my mouth. That's where I'm at right now. Sorry, tension. All right. Let's see. Rand's hand rose and swung, aiming for the same side of her face. In the moment just before impact, Em lunged forward, grabbed the gun with both hands, pulling it from the holster. The captain grabbed for the gun, but Em rolled right, jabbing a kick at her knee. Rand yelped as her knee buckled and she crashed back against the wall, denting it. Her mother's execution filled Em's mind, and the image of Rand, of yellow-blue, fueled her rage. Behind it came a memory of Neek, her interference in the dreamscape, and a kneeling Rosalian. Em moved squarely behind Rand and leveled the gun right behind her head. Before he could react, Em pulled the trigger. Laser light shot from the gun in a tight beam, pew pew, and entered Rand's skull. Silently, Em counted in her head. 1, 2, 3. And on the last count, watched the skull suddenly bulge and then shatter. And then this next part is because I like viscera. Brain matter splattered onto every available surface, including Em. Jagged skull fragments dropped at her feet, irregularly sized and deep violet. Em kicked at one with her toe and watched it skitter over the floor before careening off the wall. I just really like that image, like a skull bit spiraling and then hitting a wall. Rosalians don't control me anymore, she said to the bits of skull as she struck the crook of the gun in the front bib of her dress and walked out the open door. I could save everyone on my own. This final scene here that I've just read to you, brought to you by a YouTube video that I watched that was a live action My Little Pony promo that someone did. And at the very end, there's a little girl in a little summer dress who has a big gun that clicks it and goes, "Giddy up!" And I was channeling that little girl's very weirdness. I can't talk anymore. I'm sorry. I've had whiskey. You should do more. Give more to the Kickstarter. Because at the 5,000 mark, which will be our next mark, I will drink a better grade whiskey, possibly more of it. Maybe I'll pre-drink, and then maybe we'll read the tension at the end of this book, where they're all like, "I want to touch your hand, but I'm afraid because emotions, they keep me from you because gayness," and all of that. I'm so sorry. I'm drunk. Goodbye.